just know that it's going to be better.
And it's for your highest good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to that analogy, right, it's like, okay, well then the big death, it's gotta be
way better, right?
Because it's like, that's the
Makes a
final
lot of
one,
sense.
but that's the last one you're gonna get. And I think if you believe that's the case, then it is. It's like, what, like that feels a lot better than like, oh, I hope I go to heaven. It's like, no, like this is exciting. Like I'm going on a trip that I no one's, like, so maybe some of your friends have left, maybe they haven't.
Yeah.
You're the first one to go.
And if you believe in karma, then you've worked out something in this lifetime that you then get to like move past that in the next maybe. Like I don't know, but it's just gotta be better. Yeah.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Till then though, we get all the nice food and like all the human things you can. We were talking to Alex about this when we recorded hers. Like there's so many things we want to taste in the world.
Oh,
like not just food, just like experiences, people, places. Like there's so much to taste.
Yeah.
And it's like until then. Because who knows if like after we die, if we'll have the same experience.
Absolutely.
It may not be in a physical.
Yeah.
form.
I have a special request.
Ooh.
Can you tell us the story about, was it Afghanistan?
Iraq. Yeah.
Can you tell us the Iraq story?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a whole chunk of time that I left out. But yeah, when I was in the Christian church, there was a period of time where I was leading or participating in medical missions overseas. And so I went to Honduras and Trinidad and Mali, West Africa, and Iraq and Indonesia.
Yeah. How long were you going out to these places?
A couple weeks at a time. Some were longer than others.
Okay.
Yeah, it just depends. It wasn't like super long term.
Where were you based?
So it was like out of the church that I was in North Carolina, and then there was one or two out of the church here in Austin that I was a part of. So the Mali one's a crazy one because at the time there was a lot of, I forget, this might have been back in like 2016, 2017, and there were a lot of terrorist attacks happening at the time.
Yeah, I remember that being a big time.
Yeah, like there was stuff going on in Paris, there was stuff going on in Mali, West Africa, and like just all around that area. And so we were there with the physician who was also part of the church and his family, and basically he had built these clinics or helped build these clinics in a lot of these little villages in the bush of Africa. And what we were doing is actually training the villagers there on how to read a blood pressure, how to tell if, like, how to address a wound, things like that. And so I actually really liked this model because it was really sustainable versus some others where you just go in, set up minute clinics, and you just kind of disrupt everything.
Right.
So I really liked the model of it. I really respected the work that he was doing. But yeah, on one of our last days there, a terrorist group actually put a hit out on him, his family, and all the people that were working with him. So that's us included. And so had to be like emergency evacuated out of that.
What was that feeling like for you?
It was, you know, I was very strong in my faith at that point. And I was very strong in knowing like that believing that the work that I was doing was good and it was right. And so I remember feeling like if it's for Jesus and if it's for helping these people, like, okay. But I also remember feeling real terror for the first time in a long time. You know, I remember feeling it when I almost passed away. I remember feeling it, you know, during one of my traumas. And then, yeah, it was the first time I'd experienced this in over a decade, that amount of terror. Yeah.
That's a different kind of fear.
Yeah.
I would imagine that feeling like almost surreal.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Feels
how
like
do you
movie.
compare? Yeah, like how do you compare something like that to another experience? And I think that's how like we draw on our emotions, is like we think of another experience like it.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you compare like a group of people coming to murder?
Or like the only thing I'm comparing to is like I can think about what that would feel like from a movie point of view. Like I'm watching a movie, and it's like, oh, this person, like they're being threatened, they have to escape. It's like, oh, I can like your emotions are powerful looking at someone experience that.
Yeah.
But it's like until you're actually the one being threatened.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, I might die.
Yeah, it's a little surreal in the sense of like it doesn't actually feel like it's happening.
Right.
You know, it's like you almost like are overcome with this sense of calm. Like, is this really happening?
It's like,
you know?
is this actually real?
Yeah.
What is happening? So you guys like left immediately? Then?
Yeah, and it was like the same thing in Iraq. We were working with
so this one, that was Mali.
That was Mali.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Iraq is where we were working with refugees who had been displaced by ISIS. So we were working with refugee camps, and so
Where
we would
were
go
Iraq?
Iraqi Kurdistan. Yeah, and so we would go into the refugee camps, and that was a lot of dressing shrapnel wounds and things like that, because these people had just arrived to the camp from wherever they were. ISIS had pushed them out.
Yeah.
And that was, again, just really surreal, because I remember being in conversation with people in the tents, and they would say, oh yeah, don't go to the tent next door, that guy's actually part of ISIS. And they would and they weren't trying to scare us, they were legitimately trying to warn us. And so we wouldn't go to that tent, because we're you just don't know. And us going in there, obviously we were going for the medical work, but at the time our main mission was to share the gospel. Yeah. And depending on who you share the gospel with, that could be your life.
And as a nurse, you're going in there with you're not armed, you don't know how to fight off a soldier.
Exactly.
I'm guessing you don't know how to do that.
I mean, maybe it would have kicked in, but
surprise from a past life.
Yeah.
Maybe possibly. I don't want to assume, but most people I've not mentioned trips, but it's we aren't trained combat people.
Yeah.
Going in we're gonna be prepared to fight.
Exactly. This team that I was working with in Iraq, they actually had been previously, I think, in Jordan or something like that, and they were working in a hospital there, and one of their teammates actually got murdered. They had been there for a couple of years, and one of their teammates had shared the gospel and about Jesus with a woman, and she really loved it. She loved the freedom that came with the Christian gospel. It really resonated with her. And so she went home and she told her husband. And her husband did not like that. And so her husband waited. He kind of kept an eye on the whole team and clinic and everything for a year, and came back and shot up that person after a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so it's I had all that going through my mind as I was going through the tents. I was what if I say something to the wrong person? Are they going to find me? Are they going to find me in a year from now? Just all those questions.
Clearly they have patience.
Yeah, yeah. But again, it's just, if I'm trying to look at it with a lot of grace and an open heart, it's they were just as fearful, we were disrupting their way of life. And the thing that I so firmly believed in at the time, I was telling them that the thing that they so firmly believed in was absolutely false,
Christians do have a lot of balls in that sense.
We did.
Almost from experience, places I've gone to too, I'm what the nerve that Christians have to go to other countries and be we know better than you.
Yeah.
I get it's with good intent, but it's also did they ask?
Yeah.
Did they send the church a flyer can you come tell us about Jesus?
Yeah.
I saw something the other day. It was kind of a joke, but it was how badass Christians are? Their God is a dude nailed to a cross.
Yeah.
Damn, that's so true. That's so true. That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's such a delicate situation, being on the forefront of two conflicting religions.
Yeah.
And both believing so
strongly, and being there in a medical sense.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many delicate things taking place at once.
Yeah.
I feel medical stuff is so universal. Everyone, whether you believe it, you saw the body.
Right.
And so it's you see, from experience too, you see certain people that are injured, and it's doesn't matter what you believe at a certain point.
Yeah.
If you can help me not die, please do that. And if you're out of faith after.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter who you're dying. Cool. Here's some medicine.
Yep.
Or here's a bandage or a tourniquet.
Yeah. It does give some common ground for sure. I remember a woman trying to give me her baby too, in the tent, and she was I don't care if you're Christian, I don't care, just take it.
Life precedes religion at that point.
Oh, for sure it does. Because then I think you see, on either side you're on, you realize, there's more, not that it's not important, but it's if I'm going to die, and this person can save me, I'm not going to not let them help me just because they believe me different, they believe differently.
Also, something interesting I remember from sharing the gospel with people is anytime I would mention the name Jesus, pretty much anybody from any religion would light up. That's just a common thread of just the energy of Jesus and who he actually was, whether or not you believe in Jesus. And obviously we've really contorted our views of him and all of that, but the name of Jesus is a common thread in a lot of religions, and people are oh yeah, I believe in Jesus, and it's all these other aspects of it that we all got really fermented in our own ways.
It's That's a whole nother conversation.
It is. It's a whole other conversation.
Episode 2. We had a couple people who were like, you gotta come back already. We're not waiting a year.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a month or two. We got more questions.
I'm sure some big shifts will happen for me in a month or two.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm
sure of it.
Literally. Like,
no, I'm really sure of it.
In like a month.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you about the program.
That's why I feel like once we have our list of people we're gonna be having on, but like I think once we finish that list, we're just gonna like start over again and be like, we'll have the same people come on every couple months.
Yeah.
It's
different themes.
So
different themes. So much happens so quickly.
I really appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is giving to the world in so many ways that we need it, and it takes balls.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, it takes a lot of courage to do the things that you've decided to do.
Also, that you like. I've never met another person who's like this passionate when it comes to death. Meaning, like, you see the beauty in it and like the necessary need for it. Not that you're obsessed with death.
Yeah.
But like.
Maybe I am.
But like, I think that's okay. That's okay though, because it's just as important as life.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah.
Need one for the other.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
So our closing question that we always like to ask is, if you could give your future self, either 3, 5, 10 years from now, if you're listening to this, whether it be a piece of advice, encouragement, something that you are holding true for vision now, you want to make sure they remember, anything, there's no wrong answer, so that way when you listen to this in the future, you're like, thank you, Taylor, for reminding me of that. What would that be?
What a great question. That's a big question. And the first thing that comes to mind that's really been on my heart and my mind over the past few weeks especially is that there's a lot of power in my softness and in my feminine, because for so long, since I got into the church, that's the thing that so many people have seen. We were having this conversation at dinner the other night, and a lot of people see that softness and that feminine and the quiet, and I love those qualities about myself, but there's a real power in it too, and there's a real power that lies underneath, and so I'm recognizing that in myself. I'm seeing how to bring it out more, but just future self, I wanna remember that.
Yeah.
I love it. Beautiful. Well, since before Taylor was, thank you so much for coming on and sharing so openly with us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's story. You can follow us on Instagram at before.they.were to stay up to date with what we are up to and to get in contact with us and any guests we've had in the past. We hope you use these stories as a beacon to show that you are the master of your own life and that no one can tell you how to live your life except for you. See you next time.